I'm Adam. I'm from Steubenville, Ohio. I have 2 years, 2 months, 22 days from substance abuse disorder. Today, I'm a grateful recovering addict. I'm a son today, and I'm a brother.
Adam, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come here to the Family Recovery Center in Steubenville, Ohio, and sharing your story. We really appreciate having you out.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. So I want to start at the beginning. I'd like you to share a little bit about your family life. So any family life at the beginning, trauma, childhood stuff, anything like that.
Okay. Where do I start? So, I grew up like a middle class family in the suburbs. I always felt a little out of place as early as I can remember. I think it's because my parents got along, but at nights when my sister and I were sleeping, they would get into arguments, and it was just kind of uncomfortable. And my dad was always busy. My mom was always busy. I was trying to fill the shoes of being somebody that I could live up to my dad, per se. And my dad's the type of guy where no matter what it was his way, or I failed. I couldn't do anything right. It could be something as simple as raking the leaves, for instance. I have this story because it's just kind of vivid, where I would be helping him do chores around the house, and this is how you rake the leaves. Not my way was bad, as simple as it was. It was just wrong to him. It wasn't his way. And I don't want to talk bad. I know that he has his defects too. But as a child, it kind of hurt my self-esteem. It kind of, I didn't have a lot of confidence. In sports I did, but when it came to school or anything else, it was very difficult because I felt like I couldn't do anything right. So growing up feeling, I guess he made me feel, I don't want to say stupid, but when you lack that self-confidence, I didn't have a lot of trust in myself or wanted to pursue anything, because I felt if I couldn't rake the leaves right, how am I going to do good in life, type thing.
Right.
It was in schoolwork, he would help me, but it ended up being arguments instead of just letting it, me fail, or letting me take the time to just figure things out on my own. He helped, but not in a way that was too productive, per se. And so I had kind of a low self-esteem growing up, and I could go on a little bit about this, but I'll get there in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents ended up getting a divorce, and it was very tough for me. I cared about my dad a lot. I cared about my mom, and to see this happen kind of was like, wow. And I kind of blamed myself a lot. I was a rambunctious kid, so I felt like maybe they got a divorce because I was misbehaving. I was a wild child, type thing, and I was hurt inside a lot. I stayed with my dad because I didn't want him to be alone, and this kind of fueled what I was talking about previously about how it was very tough growing up under his roof. Wasn't like a military guy giving me orders, but he, in my opinion, he was pretty tough on me. My dad ended up traveling a lot, and my mom and my sister were busy with their lives. They didn't live around here at the time. So I was, I think this time maybe 11 or 12, if I remember correctly, and my dad hired a babysitter to watch me because he wasn't home very often. And babysitter was had guys over and hung out, and I wanted to fit in. So I would do anything pretty much to fit in. I didn't really, they're the cool kids. They're older, and I felt like this is awesome. I got some older kids to hang out with, and funny story is, maybe after a couple weeks, I kind of was like sneaking around the house, and she thought I was upstairs playing video games. And her and her boyfriend, I didn't know what it was, but they were smoking out of kerosene lamps. That's what I thought they were. Here they're smoking weed, and I was just curious. I didn't understand, and after, I can't remember exactly how long, but with my low self-confidence and self-esteem issues that I was dealing with, I remember that I caught them. They actually knew that I caught them this time smoking, and they offered me my first joint. And I'm 12 years old, and I enjoyed it. I believe that was the start of like mind altering chemicals for me, where I remember just like laughing, having a good time. All those issues I was dealing with in my head went away. And I don't know what kind of like psychiatry terms these are, but I was upset and just miserable. I didn't tell my parents too much. I just kind of held it in, and I remember having the thoughts of like, I don't want to go through this anymore. I just miss everything, and I look back at it now as a bad decision, but I ended up trying to commit suicide. And I had some bunk beds, and my dad actually was in the other room watching football, and it's kind of crazy to think about it, but yeah, I got a belt and everything, tied this up to the bunk beds, and I ended up hanging there for a while, and I had the bruises of my neck, or the belt on my neck. This eye actually had burst from pressure. It was filled with blood, and it was pretty crazy. And this is where my dad had saved me, but the police thought he did it to me, and beat him up pretty bad. So it was a pretty crazy experience, and they kept asking me in a children's hospital in Pittsburgh, like, who did this to you? Why did you do it? And I just couldn't really give them an answer at the time. I didn't understand the emotions I was feeling, really. They wanted to put me in like a teen psychiatric, like a mental hospital. And that's when my babysitter came in. I apologized for. That's when they were like, okay, we need someone to watch you, to check on you, to stay with you, and things like that. And I think that at that time, that probably they felt like that was better than putting me somewhere. So that's when I was introduced to drugs, and that's when that relief came.
Adam, can you share a story that really highlights your active use?
Yeah. So in December a few years ago, I had actually borrowed my mom's car, and I told her that I was gonna go get something, and she was just so worried about me, so she kind of didn't have a good boundary between enabling me and saying no. It's just she wanted to know where I was, and that was good enough for her at this time. And I went to my drug dealer's house, and I had gotten there, and this would be a girl and a couple other girls and maybe one guy, so there's like 4 or 5 of them, and I walk in, so that makes 6. Hanging out at the kitchen table, and I remember asking, payment, and got my stuff, can I use some here? And she said yes. So I did use the drugs there, and I remember folding everything back up and putting it back in my pocket, put a cigarette to my mouth, lit it, and I got really, let's just say I was starting to overdose. And fell forward, and that's really the last thing I remember. I remember some of the people that were there were trying to wake me up because I was coming in and out. And I went back out, and I woke up in the hospital, and I had known at this time this was my second overdose. I was told what happened, and this is the story of what actually happened. So I had overdosed at this girl's house, and they didn't know what to do. So she gathered her friends up, and they picked me up, carried me through the backyard, out their picket fence, and left me actually on the other side of the alley, in you could call it brush or part of the woods. And they actually they put sticks on me to cover me up, to like hide me actually. And I was saved because my mom knew that I had went to this house, and she knows the house, or at least the area, and she saw her car there. And she has another car, so if that makes sense, it's why she saw me there. And she knocked on the door, and they said that I wasn't there. They said that I must have been at a party, that I never showed up. I must have been at a party down the street or something, and she knew something was up because I'm usually really connected with my mom, at least to let her know, keep in touch with her. Because I knew at the time, like, I was worrying her a lot, but at least I kept in contact to make her less worrisome. But she kept driving around for hours, and not knowing, like, I'm on the other side of this house, overdosed in the snow. So she actually saw this girl that she knew that was a using buddy of mine, and I'm not going to use the name, but got a hold of her by yelling. She came to the car and was like, "Is Adam here?" And she said no. And she's like, "Well, the car's outside, he's got to be here." And she said, "No, I haven't seen him." She arrived later, so she didn't know the whole situation that took place. It wasn't until she went in the backyard and was using her substances at the time, she could see my feet like sticking out of the weeds or like on the snow. And she walked up on me and called my mom right away and told him, like, "Your son's here." And my mom pulled up and called the police and everything, and they had got me into the hospital. And I was overdosed from probably a little after midnight to about 6 in the morning. And they said that the snow saved me. I was labor breathing, but I also had gotten sepsis in my heart from not pushing anything out, and I had to get life flighted to Pittsburgh. It was a whole ordeal.
At what point did you recognize that you have a problem?
It was when I wasn't allowed to stay at my mom's house anymore. I wasn't allowed to stay with my dad, or if I did, I would have to stay in the basement. And this turned into couch surfing. I couldn't say, I recognized that I had a problem, but I didn't know what to do about it. It wasn't until I was with a buddy of mine that had just freshly got out of prison, and he had messaged me and said, "Let's get something." And it was opiates, or fentanyl. And we had gotten that, and we had actually both overdosed. And he didn't make it, and I did. They're actually working on him, just in the other room across from each other, to save his life, and he didn't come through. And if you overdose here enough times in Ohio, they'll give you a felony for that. And that's what changed my life. I was given a chance to not do jail time, was to get help, and I have gone to rehab previous times, but it was kind of just like, I call it changed my oil, so I can get my tolerance low and go back out. I had no hope. It was just because I was either out of money, I needed a place to stay, all the wrong reasons to go to treatment. But that's just the life that I thought I was supposed to live. And I knew I had a problem when I'm in treatment and the drugs are getting out, and I start just realizing all these things that I've been going through, and they have built up to a point where I was so overwhelmed. And I think, I don't know if it was a prayer or it was more like just telling myself, Adam, you have got to do something. I grew up with a few friends, and they have all died from overdoses. I'm not any special. So this is, my life's on the clock. If I don't get clean, and I started from there to realizing what I was gonna do with how my family was gonna look at it, and how they would have thought the rest of their lives, what could they have done to do something. They wouldn't understand. And I didn't want to do that to them. I just imagined what that funeral would look like, and all the other parents I've seen of friends of mine and what they went through. I was like, it's time, man. And went to treatment. I just kept taking suggestions on what can I do next to stay clean, because I don't want to live that way anymore.
So how has recovery helped to heal the relationships damaged by your active addiction?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not on a step yet where I'm going to make an amends, but I know that I told my mom recently in treatment that I was tired of saying sorry with my words, that I wanted to say sorry with my life. It's like a living amends. I didn't want her to worry anymore. I care about them so much. It's just addiction was so strong at the point where I did not care. I did, but it was it took second place, if that makes sense. And this time when I got clean, I wanted those relationships back. The bridges were broken, but they weren't yet burned. If that makes sense. I have my mom back in my life today. My dad is back in my life. And about my dad, we had some past issues, and he was always so worried about correcting me to put me on a path to success that it kind of became his drive. But now he watched me go through that. He's just happy that he has his son today. I'll just put it that way. So our relationships are definitely much stronger than they ever have been. Funny thing is, now that I'm clean and I can show up, my dad is always like, I got some household projects to take care of. He's in his 70s though now, so I don't mind. I can be there today. And they just wanted me to be clean. They want me to be present, and I might have been there, but physically, but not mentally. Wasn't Adam. With my sister, it's great. Things are much better, and it wouldn't have been that way. They would have been worse, or they wouldn't even have a relationship with me if I probably would be dead by now. So,
Adam, can you share an inspiring story about your recovery?
Yeah, sure. The most inspiring story was somebody that I was with in detox previously, years before, and we were both pretty sick, but we became friends, and we both talked about our use. And I actually, at the time, had brought in drugs into detox, and we were using together in detox. How that makes sense, I don't know. But I was going to treatment or rehab or detox, like I said, for all the wrong reasons. But he he left after detox was over, and he said, "I'm going to rehab," and I didn't want to make that step yet. I just thought I could go home, and I went to detox. I got the drugs out. I'm good to go. That's all I needed. I'm going home, and things are going to be great. That was not the story. I wasn't until probably a year or so, or maybe a little more after, that I would go back to the same detox again, and he's a tech there, and he has weight. He's laughing. I wasn't jealous, but that was something where he wanted it more than I did, of course. So he took those steps to change his life, and I admired that a lot, and inspired me to want to get clean.
Adam, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us here at the Family Recovery Center in Steubenville, Ohio. Your story will help to spread awareness, humanize addiction, end stigma, and inspire hope one story at a time. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, thank you.